As Kim Lee started to read the text to me, his tone of voice changed as he began relating to me the writings of the man's journal. The flow and emphasis of his words were less like my friend but more like the speech of a master storyteller. It may have been just because all I could do was lay there and listen, but as these words reached my ears, it started to paint a vivid image in my head with great detail. And even though the content was all new to me, the story seemed oddly familiar, as if it were a distant memory. His words began with a humble statement: "My master was the greatest man I had ever known. He took me in at a young age before I had formed any memory of my life prior to that. He raised me alongside his son and treated me as if his blood flowed through my veins. He loved and protected me. He was my great teacher and taught me the skills his family learned over many generations. He was known throughout the kingdom as the most skilled weapons and armor maker and supplied the king's royal guards with all their armament. The works of his hands were legendary among elite warriors and were the most desired by all those who served the king. Even though his works were tools dedicated to acts of death and destruction, you could not help but be amazed by the beauty and function of his masterful creation. The feel of the fit and the detail of its construction set it apart from all others. Working alongside my master, learning these skills under his care, was indeed the most treasured time of my life. Whenever I would pick up a finished sword and hold it in my hands, there were times when I would indulge myself with a dream of being one of King Shonjo's elite warriors, serving him with the duty and honor assigned to only the best of his loyal soldiers. I believe my master could see my thoughts and he would counsel me and encourage me to perfect my skills. His reasoning of course was by providing the royal guard with the best weapons and armor. This was our part in supporting His Majesty and protecting the men who served him. I struggled with this concept because although the skill of my hands created many masterful works of weaponry, my contribution seemed pale in comparison to those who would offer up their very lives in service to His Majesty. Little did I know how much my life would change in the near future. My master took great pride in his writing skills as he was a self-educated man. He taught me to read the classics and how to put my thoughts on paper so I could maintain a record of our lives together. I felt privileged to put these skills to use in this manner. My master's son was like an older brother to me. He taught me the responsibilities of our family business and coached me through the etiquette of our small village that was responsible for all the king's armory. He never exhibited jealousy while his father and mother raised me as one of their own. Instead, he embraced me as a little brother. A short time ago, he married a woman from a traveling merchant group and they are now expecting their first child. I was thrilled at the concept of becoming an uncle. As the seasons are starting to change and it becomes time to gather the works of our hands and bring them to the palace. This is our obligation to His Majesty and we are compensated accordingly. Over the past few years my brother has handled this transaction, but this year my master asked that he stay behind and to send me in his place. I felt honored to represent my family and my village and wanted to be successful in my endeavor. And even though I was excited about the idea of being in the palace, I was becoming increasingly anxious about my lack of experience. Not only had I never been to the palace, but I've never engaged in any trade before. As my brother explained the details of my trip, he, like my master, had a keen understanding of my mood. My brother always seemed so confident and accomplished and I wanted to be just like him, but still, I feared failure. He stopped for a moment laying out the agenda of our trip to the palace and put his arm around me and pulled me close for a hug. He said, "I have a big favor to ask of you. My wife loves going to the market in the palace and, she was very disappointed that we would not be going again this year. I would like you to take her along with you, and in return, she can show you around the palace, and since she accompanied me last year and being that she is from a family of merchants, she should be able to guide you." I could read my brother's intentions. He was offering her assistance on the pretext that I was really doing something kind for them. Even though I could see through his cunning scheme, I accepted his offer. I began writing this account as I am laying down to rest for the night. Tomorrow begins the day-long journey to the palace. I am both nervous and anxious about the days to come. I must rest now because we will have an early start in the morning. Morning came quickly as I heard the sound of metal clanging and wooden wheels creaking and popping. Our village was preparing the caravan for its trip to the capital. I could hear people speaking in hushed undertones as they prepared for their journey. The sun is just now breaking the horizon as the red and orange colors of the sky begin to show the outline of the mountains in the distance. I anticipate it will be an amazing day. As I was approaching the center of our village where everyone was busy packing their wares, I heard my brother and sister-in-law calling out my name from behind me. They greeted me warmly and my sister-in-law even brought me a rice ball for breakfast. Yes, this is definitely going to be a good day. My brother motioned to me to follow him to the front of the group where my master was waiting. As he stood up from his resting place and he smiled at me. With a gleam in his eye he smiled as if he were proud of me. Proud in the way a father looks at a son as he begins to become a man. I found this reassuring of his faith in my success and I did not want to disappoint him. More than anything, I really did not want to disappoint him. As I approached him, he reached out and put his hands on my shoulders and briefly looked me in the eye. I couldn't hold back my smile and he pulled me in close for a warm embrace. As a boy, I was in awe of my master's stature and strength. It seemed almost supernatural as he hammered out iron from the elements of the earth. But now, for the first time, as he held me in his arms, I noticed his body was changing, even seeming somewhat frail. And for the first time in my life, I began to realize that my master would not always be by my side. Why would I think such a thing at this very moment? I quickly dismissed this thought as I shifted my focus to the task at hand. The sun was now up and it was time to leave for the capital. My brother accompanied us to the front of the caravan to wish us well on our journey and to say his final goodbye to his bride. Although we would only be gone for a few days, they embraced each other as if it were for the last time.